Welcome to Three and Out with Jason and Kevin. I'm Jason. That is Kevin. We are on YouTube on the Orange and Black Insider. It's us and it's Anthony and John over at OBI. And then on Believe Network. Believe in Cincy is the channel name, BLEAV. We are on the Believe in Cincy channel. It's us, it's OBI, it's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends, and it's also Matt and Willie No Ball. So pretty much Bengals content every day. Like, subscribe, follow, the whole 9 yards. Draft is over. Rookie mini camp has come and gone. They're kind of going through not mandatory, voluntary OTAs. But the big news now is the schedule release. Kevin, how after the schedule's been released, we already knew who they were gonna play. We just didn't know when and what time, basically.
Right.
But
because the NFL is all year.
Yeah, all year long. Yep. It's a prime time event.
You can't release the schedule once. You have to release it twice, just slightly differently.
Yeah, over a few days. I thought the Bengals were one of there was one team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, had not played overseas yet, and the Bengals were tied with the somebody for having the longest period of time since they played an international game. So I was kind of expecting the Bengals to be playing in Spain. Yeah, I thought, because I think even like the governor or whatever it is kind of dropped the hints that it was going to be the Bengals and whoever else. I think the Commanders. But no, it ended up we didn't get
hold on. The governor?
I don't know, man.
The governor of Spain?
Hey, the president of Spain. The prime minister of Spain. I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know how it's organized either. But governors are states, and you said that with a lot of confidence.
I didn't mean the governor.
Spain could have states. I'm not saying Spain doesn't.
I get that.
I'm saying I know nothing about Spain, and you said that with confidence that I didn't feel was earned.
No. Hold on a second. Let me defend myself. I said it with a confidence that, like, the governor of the city or whatever, Barcelona or wherever they were going to play, said it was going to
be a governor of a city.
I don't know, man. That's here. They don't.
That's why I called. We're going to let this go because we got to talk schedule. That's why I called it out. If you said president, there's probably an analog.
Talk about this
if you said mayor, there's probably an analog. But if Spain doesn't have states, I don't think they have governors.
Okay. So,
anyways,
the Bengals schedule.
Football.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. The Bengals schedule was released. Like I said, we already knew when they were going to, or where they were going to play. We just didn't know when. No international games. I mean, outside from a small stretch at the end of the season, I think that this is about as favorable as a schedule as you could get for the Bengals. First of all, I do know that they are the only team in the NFL traveling less than 10,000 miles this year. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, I don't know if it's a big deal, but it seems like it's a big deal, less time cramped up in a plane or whatever.
Sure.
But not only that, but they start their season off. Well, do you just want to go through and do wins and losses as we go?
I do. We'll keep track.
Yeah.
And then maybe even we don't have this planned out. We just wanted to look at the schedule, just kind of wins, losses, whatever. But maybe kind of look back and think, hey, maybe where we were a little more generous or whatever to try to get maybe a range. Look at it, go, maybe there's like 10 to 13 wins here, however it plays out. Looking at the beginning, we're doing an opener away versus the Browns.
Right. Well, here, before we start the schedule,
go ahead.
I just want to ask you one quick question. If you were going to determine the strength of schedule for any team right now, do you think it would be more accurate to use their 2024 record or more accurate to use what Vegas is predicting them for the season as of now? I don't think either are super accurate, but
I think that we would have unlocked the secrets of the universe if we didn't pay all the mathematicians to run odds in Vegas. So I'm trusting Vegas, if I'm being honest.
Okay, cool. All right.
Why? Do you know what Vegas odds are, like over under for the season?
Yeah, for the Bengals, yes, 10.5.
Okay.
10.5. And that, I mean, that's just, it could have changed since the schedule came out. That was what I saw yesterday. So
let's take a run at it. Let's see if we get up to 10 wins. I think there might be. We'll see. Let's look at it.
So week 1, kicking off September 7th on the road at Cleveland. Just a 1 p.m. standard AFC North game against a division rival.
Yep.
I hate these games. I hate all the AFC North games, even against Cleveland, just because, like, I don't care if they're a dumpster fire. These games get ugly and they get tough. You know what I mean? These are just nasty games. I'm not expecting the Bengals to come out firing on all cylinders this year, but I do expect them to come out firing on at least 2. So I don't think that the Bengals like come out and just blow the Browns out, but I do think that they come away with a win where we're like, the score was closer than the game actually was. Those games where you say, like,
Yes.
the score was actually closer than the game. The game was pretty much handled from. That's what I think. So I go 1-0 here.
I also go Browns 1-0 victory against the Browns. I have a slightly different take on it, but we're coming to the same conclusion. Just that offense wins games, and our offense is going to look slightly different than what the Browns can prepare for. The Browns have had our number for a long time, but they're a bad team, and without having any ability to adjust to any offensive wrinkles we add during the offseason, then an offense-first team will tend to win, in my opinion, in that matchup. Bengals win.
I agree. Okay. Week 2, coming back home. They open at home on September 14th at 1 p.m. against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brought in a new head coach who's kind of a quarterback whisperer. They haven't gotten what they feel their investment. They haven't gotten the return that they expected off Trevor Lawrence, which is, he kind of had a weird, kind of had a weird season where he just kind of fell off a little bit, So they bring in a new head coach. There's nothing about this team that screams to me contenders or even contenders in their own division, which is weak. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is 2-0. And I do think that the Bengals have the possibility just to absolutely whoop up on the Jaguars pretty bad. So
I agree. I don't think Travis Hunter is going to be the game changer they want him to be out the gate on defense. I actually am not a believer in him. I think that he's incredible value because he can play both sides of the ball, but I don't think he's the top wide receiver or the top cornerback in the draft. Anyways, so I think that I got 2 things here. One, I don't care about quarterback whisperers. Trevor Lawrence isn't the guy. He just isn't the guy. I'm not saying he's bad, but he isn't the guy. It's been too long. It's not going to happen. And then 2, do you believe honestly that Joe Burrow is going to lose to Trevor Lawrence?
No, I don't.
No, I think he has. I think he carries that rivalry when everybody said he was going to be better, and then he beat him in the championship game. And I think he's going to whoop on Trevor Lawrence every chance he gets from here till one of them retires.
I can see that. For a long time, there were all these. For a long time, when Joe Burrow was coming out of that rookie year where he ended up on IR, there were people talking like, well, I'd rather have Justin Lawrence than Joe Burrow.
Yes.
No. All right. Week 3, they go back on the road, September 21st to the Minnesota Vikings. Same deal. If you're going to say the elite quarterback is going to win, this is Joe Burrow versus JJ McCarthy. Bengals win on the road. Go 3-0 to start the season, which would be a big deal. Big deal. The last time they had a winning season after the first quarter of the season was over, after a winning record after the first quarter of the season was over? 2021 when they won the Super Bowl.
I don't know. It feels like a long time. Feels like longer than that, if I'm being honest. I think this is going to be a closer game than you're acting like it will be. I'm not saying McCarthy's going to be out the gate as stud, but they're like a 14-win team last season. And I know that they're kind of the reverse Bengals where we lost some games we should have won, and I feel like their record doesn't really indicate how good the team was.
Right.
But I do expect this to be a closer game. I think this is going to be a bit of a toss-up, but I do have them winning it.
Okay.
But this is one of the ones I'll go back to at the end and say, hey, okay, this is one of the ones that maybe we lose, in my opinion.
Okay. I get that. All right. They stay on the road. They go to Denver, go to play the Broncos in the shadow of the Rockies against a team that I was really shocked at. Bo Nix had a really good rookie season. They went 10-7, went to the playoffs. They got bounced in the first round by the Bills, but I think that everyone, they were ahead of schedule big time. I do think the Bengals go to Denver, and I think they lose this game. I think they
Okay.
lose a close game in Denver. It's just a tough place to play. They've been on the road for 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Denver's always going to have, they're going to have great defense. So I just think that this is going to be a close game that they drop.
Okay. I'll give you the loss because it feels overly optimistic to go 4
Say
wins out the
4-0.
gate,
Yeah.
especially because we've predicted that, I think, the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And God, were we wrong?
Yeah.
But just to play devil's advocate here,
Okay.
Bo Nix could absolutely have a bit of a sophomore slump. I don't think
he
it'll
could.
be
Sure.
long running, but especially at the beginning of the season. And I absolutely believe Burrow and Chase will be on demon time when they go against the Broncos, just because the Broncos effectively kept them out
They
of
did.
the playoffs.
They did.
And I do not think either one of them forgets that.
Yeah, I could see that being
So
the case.
that would be my argument for why they win, but let's give them a loss. Let's keep it honest. So far, we're 3-1.
Yep. All right. So then they come home week 5 and they play the Detroit Lions on October 5th. So Detroit, I'm trying to remember. I think that Vegas has them at 11.5. So they're one of the few teams on the schedule that they at least for now believe, has potential to be better than the Bengals. I don't know, man. I kind of go back and forth. I see the Lions and I'm like, oh man, the Lions, they're really good. But then I also think, like, I've also seen the Lions play where I didn't think that they were very good. And they kind of snuck out some games that I feel like that they won in the very end that maybe they shouldn't have won.
Yes.
I was rooting for them last year in the playoffs. But I don't want to give them 2 losses in a row. But I think this is going to be a tough game, because if you're going to look at the two teams and you're going to say, hey, they both have pretty good offenses. The Bengals offense, I think, is better, but I also think the Lions defense is much, much better than the Bengals defense, on at least right now.
Sure.
I'm going to give this.
Can I count? Hold on. Let me counter you.
Yeah.
Let me counter you here.
Okay.
They lost both coordinators, and their
They
defense was never good. It was okay. It was never good. So offense to offense, I give it to the Bengals, especially going into year 2 of Dan Pitcher as the offensive coordinator. I think we're going to see more wrinkles, especially considering it took them a couple weeks last year to get ramped up. I don't think we're going to have any of that this year. And I think that the Lions defense is as big a question mark as the Bengals, except that I expect Al Golden to make a positive impact on the Bengals, and the loss of their defensive coordinator, the Lions, I think will be a negative impact on their defense.
Okay.
So I would give them a win, but I'm going to mark it down. I'm going to mark it down as one of the ones that's kind of waffly.
Okay.
But I absolutely do think the Bengals can win this one.
Okay. So you got 4-1. I got 3-2 for right now. All right. Moving into week 6 on the road again, Green Bay Packers. This is a game that I think, again, another one of those games that, like, you don't realize how good a team is because we don't. How many times do you really watch the Packers? I watch the Packers if it's prime time or something. It's almost unfair that the Packers have found themselves in a situation where they could go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, who seems to be just as good as they hoped he would be when they drafted him. They finally have a first-round wide receiver this year, so it's obvious that they love Jordan Love more than they liked Aaron Rodgers. But I think it's tough to play there. It's a tough place to play. I think the Bengals are better. This is before it gets super cold up there. You know what I mean? I think the Bengals are a better team. I think, on my mind, after 2 losses here, they get back in the win column, go up to Green Bay and win.
Yeah, I'm going to end up with a spread here as opposed to a final score. The more I'm looking at this, the more with some teams, I see a loss. With some teams, I see a win. And with other teams, I see the path to victory, if that makes sense. I see how they can follow the path and they can win. So it's hard for me to put a loss here because I absolutely see how they beat the Packers. But it's football. It could go anyway. So I'm putting a win here.
Okay.
But another asterisk on it where this could be a loss, worst case scenario.
Okay.
Especially we have to take into account, I'm going to be more critical of the Bengals in these early games than I am in these later games because, fair or not, you have to assume they're going to get off to a slow start at this point. You just
Yeah,
have to.
I know. It's
If they don't,
depressing.
this could be a different thing. But like,
Yeah.
because I got 6 games here and I got 3 wins that could be losses.
Yeah.
So I
I
mean,
know.
that's the difference between 4-2 and 2-4.
Well, think about last year, the beginning, this slow start they get. You know, that one touchdown that is scored in the Patriots game that ends up being a fumble. I don't remember who it was. You know, that doesn't happen, the Bengals go to the playoffs.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So just, yeah, the slow start stuff has to quit. All right. So at this point, you have 5-1. I have 3-2. Week 7, Pittsburgh Steelers. There's really, there's really nothing about the Steelers that worries me that much. I mean, they're coming in with Mason Rudolph, and even if they come in with Aaron Rodgers, he's not the same Aaron Rodgers, and that's not the same Steelers. You know what I mean?
No.
The
Aaron
Steelers
cannot move. He cannot move.
Yeah. Nope. And then, you know, they got rid of their number 1 wide receiver and George Pickens. And it's just everything that they're doing. Everything about the Steelers right now says, hey, we're not in it and we know it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that they're going to take out some midseason aggression on the Steelers. So I got 5-2
Their big
now.
threat is DK Metcalf, and we watched Cam Taylor-Britt lock him down the last time they got matched up. Yeah, absolutely a win. I don't think there's any way you count this as a possible loss. The Steelers are an absolute train wreck this year.
Yeah, nope, I totally agree. All right, then brings us to week 8, October 26th. New York Jets at home, same deal. I think that this is just a team that's in a lot of trouble.
It's the Jets, man.
Yeah.
That's the entire argument. It's the Jets.
Yeah, it's the Jets.
Come on.
And it's also at home. You know, anytime that you go on the road, I usually like to say just winning on the road in the NFL is hard. Like, I don't care if you're going to the worst team. If you're going there, winning on the road in the NFL is tough. So if it was in New York, I'd be like, hey, you know, it's tough. They got to be on their game. At home, I'm not that concerned. All right. So I got 6-2. You have 7-1 heading into week 9, Chicago Bears at home again. And I say that's another one. This is a win for me.
7-1 with an asterisk, because again, I'm doing a different thing than you, but let's continue because it sounds ridiculous to say 7-1. It's not really what I have down here. What I have down here is 7-1, or I have somewhere between 7 and 4 wins so far.
I got you. Yeah, same deal with this one. I just don't know how great Caleb Williams is really going to be. I don't know if they can put an offense around him. I don't know if they're going to have a defense to support him. Like, I don't know anything about that team, you know?
Right.
I don't think they're going to compete with the Lions. I don't think that they'll compete with the Vikings or the Packers either. I really don't. No. I could see them in the very bottom. So yeah, I say a win here. You say win, I'm assuming, right?
I do.
Okay.
Ben Johnson, that's the Lions coordinator, right? That became the head coach of the Bears.
Yes.
He could very well turn this franchise around. I think he's incredibly talented. I think he has a lot of potential, but I cannot count Caleb Williams in the good. He's okay. Yeah. He's better than, I feel like nobody has the correct opinion on Caleb Williams, whether they think he stinks or they think he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. And I think he's a future pretty good quarterback.
Yeah. I think that he has, and I'm not even going to, he has the ability to do some things physically that not many people can do, but he doesn't have it in his head where like Mahomes does. You know what I mean? Mahomes has the arm talent and in his head. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Caleb Williams seems, I don't know if he has the arm talent of Mahomes, but I just don't think that he's there. Either way. No. All right. So that means they go into the bye. Week 10 bye. For me, I have them at 7-2. You have them at 8-1 with an asterisk. They come out of the bye week 11 at Pittsburgh. So again, go up there. I think they win. I think they whoop up on Pittsburgh pretty bad. I think they sweep Pittsburgh. I think,
especially coming out of the bye. Come on.
Yeah. I think,
and I kind of think the Steelers are going to be looking at tank right around this time. Around this time, there's going to be a lot of whispers about tank in that building. And so I don't think they're going to be overly motivated to win this game regardless.
No. I think this is going to be the first losing season in Mike Tomlin's head coaching career at Pittsburgh. I think that I don't see a way around it, even with Rodgers. I just don't see a way around it. All right. So 8-2, 9-1 for you with an asterisk. Week 12, New England Patriots at home. Again, I think this is a win. The Patriots are not the same team since the Brady Belichick era. They weren't the same team since Brady left, even when Belichick was there. So, yeah, I think that this is like a nice little lull, the quiet kind of before the storm, of a pretty nasty stretch. But I have 9-2 at this point. You have 10-1 at this point in the season. They're looking at number one overall seed with these records, 9-2 or 10-1. They're looking at, hey, we got a shot at having a first round bye here.
Sure.
All right, and then they have one of just the nastiest 3 weeks ever. So first thing, very cool. Week 13, they're in Baltimore, but they're playing on Thanksgiving night, which is just incredible.
Let's take a break.
Incredible.
Let's take just a break on the predictions here, just to talk about how great Bengals football is on Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah,
especially for me at that time slot, because what I want during the first 2 games, I'm with my family, I'm talking, I'm eating food, maybe I'm going back get pie while I'm watching the game, maybe I'm having a beer or 2. I'm not wanting football that I have to pay close attention to.
Right.
But 8:20, I've now eaten a bunch of food. I've taken me a good 45-minute nap on the couch. And I pop up at 8:20, 8:30. I'm ready to roll, buddy.
Ready to go.
I'm ready to roll. This is going to be a great Thanksgiving game for me.
I think the other thing that's so cool about it is if you're going to talk about like the main draw is they say, hey, we got to do the Cowboys, we got to do the Lions. We know that. But the 8:20 game, like you said, dinner's over, families just kind of hanging out. You know what I mean? That's the game that everybody's glued to the TV watching. And this is such a huge game. Late in the season for Baltimore, the Bengals. Baltimore is predicted to win 11.5, so Vegas kind of likes them a little bit more. In M&T Stadium, I'm going to give the edge to the Ravens in this one.
Agreed. I hate it. I was just talking about how great it's going to be to watch the Bengals, and it will be. It will be no matter what. But I do think we're going to end up witnessing a loss. I think it'll be close.
Yeah.
These division games usually are, but I think we lose this one.
I agree. All right. So then that moves us the very next week. We stay on the road. We go from Baltimore to upstate New York in early December against the Buffalo Bills. So it's kind of a weird, kind of complicated history with Buffalo. Is we didn't have a lot of luck against them before, and then all of a sudden Joe Burrow comes up here and he's just been like Buffalo kryptonite. You know what I mean? Yeah. And obviously you had the game that was canceled, but then they had the game up in upstate New York in the playoffs where that was just a one-sided ass beating that game up in Buffalo. So I think Buffalo's got, hey, we got some revenge on our minds. You know what I mean? I don't think that Buffalo has the same team the Bengals have. I believe in Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen can do incredible things, but I don't see Josh Allen's weapons like I see Burrow's weapons. You know what I mean? It's just going to be, can the Bills defense do enough damage and let Josh Allen go off? You know what I mean? That's all it's going to be. I think
that defense is going to be playing against Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
In late season when football matters.
I know. That's why
this game happens beginning of the season. This is a different conversation. But Burrow is going to be fully on fire by this time, and he is the Bills' kryptonite. He has proven it time and time again. The same way the Browns beat us way more often. Browns can have the trashiest, most trash team every year. We predict there's no way the Browns are going to beat the Bengals,
and they do.
Sometimes they've swept them. It's wild. They've got our number to that degree. And I kind of feel like it's starting to become precedent that we've got the Bills number to that degree. They're not built to play us. I have a win.
Okay. I do too.
Late season football, Burrow's going to tear them up.
I do too. So I got 10-3, you got 11-2. And then after on the road to Baltimore, after on the road to Buffalo, they come home and they play Baltimore again. Yeah. So in less than 3 weeks period of time, they're going to play the Ravens twice. Yes. I don't think that there's going to be a team in the AFC North that's going to sweep the Bengals. I don't. I think the Bengals are going to win this game at home.
It usually goes that way, just statistically. It just is. Yeah. Because the Bengals will lose, then they'll mix it up, and the Ravens will, they won't see it coming, and now they lose that one. That's kind of the way these rivalries work.
Yep. I could really see this year. I really do kind of see this year as being kind of similar to how the NFC North was last year, where you had a team I don't remember what the Vikings record was, but it was like 13-4, something crazy like that, and they didn't even have a home
Yeah,
playoff game. You know what I mean? They were on the road. I could see something like that where whoever wins the AFC North, the second team has like a 13-win season, 12-win
sure.
season, something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think the Ravens are going to be good. I do think the Bengals are better. I think the Bengals at home, are going to look to say, hey, we're not going to let this team beat us twice. And it's hard to beat a team twice. So yeah, I'm going to
It is.
go at this point, win against Baltimore at home. Same for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We split it.
Okay. And then the last 3-game stretch of the season is a little bit easier again. So they go back on the road. They go down to Miami. They're going to play the Ravens, or not the Ravens. Geez, go to Miami. They're going to play the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa, they can do some cool things. Mike McDaniel's is a fun coach to watch when he's mic'd up. They got some creative things, but
those creative things mostly only work against bad teams.
Yeah, work against bad teams. And I just don't think that there's any amount of creativity that they can put into his arm to outmatch what Burrow should do. And the Bengals offense, in my opinion, should be putting up 35 points a game.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and if they do
I'm looking at our predictions here, and I was like, we'll do our predictions, we'll get out of here. We'll do our predictions, and then I have a little bit to say about where I think the Bengals are going to be as a team next year, because it's absolutely looking a little wild where we're ending up with this. But let's go. Dolphins win. I just don't think, especially late season football, it's stopping Burrow. The Dolphins ain't stopping Burrow.
Yep. All right. So you got 12-2. I got 14-3. Okay. No, that's not right. Okay. So then final 2 games of the season are at home. Week 17, Arizona Cardinals. I got that as a win. I think this is when teams are saying, hey, we're going to lock it up this week. I could see the Bengals saying, we're going to lock up that number 1 bye. We're going to lock it up this week. So I have that as a win. And then week 18, they're the bookend. The Browns are the bookend team this year. So they play the Browns at home. I don't think that they want to let the Browns off the hook. You know what I mean? I don't think that they're going to say, we're going to sit everybody, whatever. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Especially if they get the first round bye, I could see them wanting to come out. We're going to go ahead and win that game because we already have a bye week. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I feel like every single year I'm kind of thrown for a loop with week 18 because every single year I predict the Bengals are going to go to the playoffs. And every single year I'm like, well, with this record, they shouldn't win the AFC North. I don't know if they're going to play all their starters in week 18.
Yeah.
So if we're just going to assume, yes, they will play starters, then I'm going to say they'll win. They will win. But because the Browns suck. They suck.
Yeah.
So, but if they're 14-2, in week 18, and they say we don't need this, and they say, well, we'll let Burrow play a quarter, and then we'll sit him, get some other guys in. I could see that too. And if that's the case, they'll probably lose. So, I don't know.
I have it as a win, but this is going to be another asterisk because we just talked about how the Browns have the Bengals number, so that has to be considered. Okay. We also need to talk about the Browns' just innate desire to play spoiler, even if the Bengals are doing really, really well. So if we don't have that first seed locked down, they're going to come out with everything they've got for no other reason than they want to just ruin our party. Yeah,
totally.
And I think both those things need to be taken into account.
Okay.
So I have that as a win, but with an asterisk. So I have 1, 2. I have 15 wins, but I have 4 that I could see going the other direction. So I have us winning, let's call it 12 wins if we're being conservative. I have us winning 12 games. If we're split the difference, I have us winning 13 games. Which, here's where I feel the need to defend this. Jason, can I have the floor, and can I just talk just for a minute about this?
Kevin, you have the floor.
One, this is an easy schedule. And last season, we were better than it looked like we were. We all know the ball bounces in weird ways, but we don't tend to take it to heart. We feel like it's an excuse. But the truth is we were a 11 to 12 win team last year. That's who we were, because the offense was so incredible. And now we have the schedule where the hardest teams we play, I just feel like we match up well against. I would say the Lions are
Yeah.
one of the teams we match up well against, but they're a good team. And then we have that 3-week stretch with Ravens, Bills, Ravens.
Yeah.
But we match up incredibly well against the Bills, and we're probably going to split with the Ravens. So our hardest 3-game stretch, you walk away with 2 wins.
Yeah.
Something that you probably couldn't say for most other teams. If you were like, oh, here's the hard stretch, how does that look?
Right.
Well, for the Bengals, honestly, it looks like you might walk away with 2 wins.
Yeah.
I think this team is better than people think it is. I think that Al Golden is going to put the young guys on the field, let them play, and he's going to get us to, at minimum, around a 20 to, if God, maybe by the end of the season, like a 15 ranked defense.
Yeah.
That's all you need. That's playoff football right there.
I agree.
If you just have a team that can stop 2 or 3 drives a game, Burrow will tear you up, especially in the later season. It's crazy to say we're a 12 or 13 win team. I really don't.
I don't think it is either. I had 13-4 written down for me. I had 13-4. I think 12-5 is very conservative, like really conservative. You know what I mean? I think 13-4. I think we're right in there. So, like when it comes to last year's team, you know, I think that it was a combination of bad defense, some mismanagement, and then incredibly weird and terrible luck.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Which
How
is
often
it's a 17-game season.
Football.
If you have a couple weird games, then suddenly your entire season looks different.
Yep.
It ain't like baseball.
And if your defense isn't good enough to compensate for the fact that Evan McPherson's going to do some weird, like, you know, doink it off the thing twice or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, it's mostly their defense. I think it's some bad luck. I do think that they were better than their record, obviously, last year. I think that had they gotten in the playoffs, I don't think that they were a first-round exit by any stretch of the imagination. You know what I mean?
No, I do not. And I think that's why we're all holding our breath at the end there is that the defense, again, what happened toward the very end of that season is what I expect out of the beginning of this season.
Yeah.
Meaning the defense started to put together just enough.
Just enough, yeah.
No one would even claim we had a good defense.
Right.
But man, we had a maybe sometimes okay defense toward the end.
Yeah.
And that was enough that we went on a winning streak. We tore it up.
Yeah.
And if we start the season with a maybe it's okay kind of defense and end with a hey, it's fine. It's fine. Defense, we go to the Super Bowl.
Think about this. Think about a defense, a Bengals defense in 2025 that allows 26 points a game.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean,
like for most teams, you'd say like, hey, that's not going to fly. You know what I mean?
We're going to
like,
win more often than we're not.
We're going to win way off because
I
don't see many defenses that are going to keep the Bengals in the below the 30s.
No.
You know what I mean? As long as everyone's healthy, you know, they did enough on the interior of the offensive line. Even if they didn't, we've seen what Joe Burrow does with bad offensive lines. It almost doesn't matter. I just don't want him to be hurt. That's the thing.
That is what's scary about a bad offensive line is you don't want Joe Burrow to get
the
hurt.
Injury.
It actually doesn't overly affect his ability to ball. Like,
no, it doesn't.
At least
which
not
is crazy.
to the degree it should.
Right.
Like it's kind of wild.
Is absolutely crazy. But yeah, I think 13-4, conservatively 12-5, and if it's anything less than that, I think something wrong is gone. Something happened.
I could even see this is not me defending the Bengals because they absolutely need to go out there and get free agents at guard. But I can see the vision of what they're trying to do on that O-line. They've realized that they cannot get high-end talent. That is not a thing they can do because they're paying the wide receivers and the rest needs to go to the defense if they're going to do it. They just have too many players to pay. So their idea is, hey, let's get the guy who can take lower to middling talent and train it up. As long as they've got the traits like Dylan Fairchild, he's supposed to be strong as an ox, but his technique ain't that great. Well, our O-line coach is all about technique.
Right.
They did the same thing with Al Golden where, hey, we can't have the defense we want to have. We need to figure out how to go young and cheap. Al Golden's going to be the guy to go young and cheap. He might not ever give you a top 10 defense, but he'll give you a top 20 to 15 defense for very little money.
Yeah.
I see the vision. I'll see the vision. And maybe it'll work out.
I think that this is the whole, like, the whole idea of Bill Polian's teams. You know what I mean? Is like, I'm going to build an offense that you cannot stop. And if you score 40, I'm going to score 41.
Yep.
And that's how it works. That's how we're going to win. And it did. They did. They won a Super Bowl like that.
Sure.
And then they got really close a lot. But yeah, I think this is a pretty easy schedule. I hope the Bengals are angry. I do. I hope there's some anger in there. I want them to come out and they say, "Hey, we're not this garbage team." You know what I mean?
Sure.
We're not what our record was last year. It's not who we are, and we're going to come out and we're going to punish everybody for it. That's what I want to see. That's what I hope.
That's what we're counting on.
Yeah.
Our predictions right here. Like that's
yeah. Wouldn't it be nice to be right?
It would be nice to be right because we have predicted really good seasons the last two and now this season. And we would have been mostly right if I don't remember like game for game. It would have been mostly right if not for absolutely awful starts last season and Burrow getting hurt the season before.
Yeah.
As long as we have a decent start.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to jinx it. We need 3 wins in the first 5 games. We have to.
I agree.
Then we're cruising, then we're moving, and we're going to the playoffs.
If they come out of the first 5 weeks with 3 wins, they'll say, "Hey, we've been at this point before. We know how to play football at this point. Look what we already did. Now we just got to do what we've always done: is win mid and late season football." I totally agree. And this is the schedule for it. You know, opening against the Browns and opening against the Jaguars after that at home. So, yeah, I'm pumped. People are mad. I'm excited. I just can't wait. I can't wait till Bengals football's back. I can't wait till the preseason. I hate watching preseason football when you compare it to regular, because week 1 comes around and you watch it and you're like, oh yeah, this is what football's like. But then like week 5 comes around and you forgot how crappy week 1 is because everyone's like, oh shit, you know what I mean? But like I love week 1, preseason week 1, just because it's here. You know it's close, you know? So yeah. You got anything else, man?
No. We ran a little long, but there's a lot to talk about. So nope, but I got nothing else.
I think next time we're going to come back, we'll do a way too early kind of 53-man roster. And by that point, hopefully, we'll get some Trey news and something. We'll see. All right. Well, once again, we're on the Orange and Black Insider on YouTube. It's us and it's OBI with Anthony and John. And then on the Believe Network, Believe in Cincy, it is us, it's OBI, it's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends, and it's Matt and Willie No Ball. So like, subscribe, follow, the whole deal. There's pretty much Bengals content every single day. Appreciate it. Houday, Kevin, good night, and we'll see you next time.
Houday.